Mountain.
The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Hey, welcome in. Wow. One more week?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't feel like it.
Although the weather's starting to feel like it.
Yeah, kind of.
Getting there. For what we're talking about is, obviously, if you are watching us or listening to us live, hey, you got a week's worth of shopping to do. You ain't got it done yet. Kind of under the gun.
Decided to do mine last night and got it done that quick.
There you go. See? It can be done.
Yeah, right.
Really. I'm Steve West. That's Matt Nicholson. Producer John Myers. We're all in the house here 1 week before Christmas weekend, whatever you got planned. Hey, maybe you're already off. Who knows? Thank you very much for checking us out. We do appreciate it. And if you've been missing a dedicated motorsports cable channel, we got good news for you. Formula E on track in preseason testing. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some big moves being made in Formula One this week and in the Xfinity series as well. That, we'll talk SRX, we'll talk the ARCA Menard series, and a whole lot more. Plus, since not necessarily all of us are going to be together in studio at this point in time next week, we're going to go ahead and have our own little CRN mini Christmas right here. All of that and more coming up on this weekend's edition of the Championship Racing Network, which will get the official green flag right after this short little break.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network.
education made simple in Jacksonville and downtown Anniston.
4 tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome into the show officially as we get things rolling. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here with you. And because we've ignored it over the last couple of weeks, we're kind of flipping the script. Usually we begin with either the biggest news of the week, or if there's not really any big, oh my gosh, news, then we'll kind of start off with NASCAR. Well, let's do some general racing news, general motorsports news here. And I've missed it. Maybe you have too. Speed Vision.
What?
Or the Speed Channel.
Yeah. Where?
Missed those. Yeah, really. Which
bit.
upon being Speed Vision was bought by Fox, turned into the Speed Channel, and then became Fox Sports 1. And since then, while we do have MAV TV, and that's nice, there really hasn't been another channel like Speed Vision since, well, until the spring of next year, that is. Obsession Media and Speed Sport, the newspaper that became known as the Bible of Motorsports, have teamed up. They're ready to launch a new dedicated motorsports network called Speed Sport 1. They're going to air more than 400 events live, along with round-the-clock coverage of motorsports from all around the world. Network's going to be launched on fast and free ad-supported streaming television. That's going to be available for cable and satellite systems as well, although which companies are going to go for it and what level or tier of your cable or satellite system, we don't know yet. The development team for the new network hails from actually a variety of sports-dedicated networks, everything from ESPN to Speed Vision, Speed Channel, Fox Sports 1, NASCAR, MAV TV, Disney, and MTV. They have a desire to create what they claim to be the highest quality television product for motorsports enthusiasts of all kinds of racing. The president and GM of this new one is Dan Teitscheid. He has prior TV experience with ESPN and a somewhat more disturbing MTV. I say disturbing because I remember when MTV signed on. I mean, my dad was a tech geek. My dad was one of the first ones to get cable when it was available, and then he went out and bought that big C-band satellite dish, the humongous monster satellite dish. My dad was a tech guy. We were in on MTV almost from the beginning. I remember when it was good.
Video killed the radio star.
Sure. Things like back when they actually played music, which is what the M used to stand for in MTV, music television. Now it just stands for mediocre. Now it's all reality TV and junk.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly where Dan's history with MTV begins and ends, and I'm not all that worried about it. Hopefully he does this right. The president of Obsession Media as well said, quote, "This is a unique opportunity to work with an unbelievably experienced and dynamic team of motorsports, TV, and entertainment executives, all of whom have been directly involved in launching some of television's most iconic brands. Together, we're making Speed Sport one-of-a-kind network dedicated to live motorsports."
You're talking about reality TV. It's not been a very good week for reality TV.
No.
I've seen.
It can go away.
It can, especially with some shows that are coming out in January. That's an off-the-air discussion.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Non-motorsports related.
Yeah,
so.
very, very non-motorsports related.
Even more importantly, the Speed Sport president and co-founder Ralph Shaheen said, quote, "Speed Sport became known as the Bible of motorsports because of its in-depth coverage of all things racing, particularly under the guidance of the late, great Chris Economaki. Now with Speed Sport 1, we're bringing back the dedicated motorsports TV channel, complete with live content and racing highlights from around the world, covering the kind of events that made household names of people like A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart. Speed Sport 1 is television by the fans for the fans." It's all set to come full circle as well because as one of the advisors to and an investor in Obsession Media, they also own and operate the Outdoor Channel. It's Roger Werner. He founded Speed Vision back in 1995, and he was the one that sold it to Fox Sports back in 2001. So we have him to credit and alternately to blame.
Attaboy, Ralph. All you can say is attaboy, Ralph.
Yeah, really. That's here's the thing. I'm looking forward to this. I don't know whether we're going to get it. My wife and I are still, we're this close to cutting the cord on cable. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this might actually come about because I really would like to see this. I'm happy that they're making this because this is something, and again, all due respect to MAV TV.
Right.
But this is something that I will spend a lot of time on. I can guarantee it. hopefully it comes about and is accessible.
Well, an interesting thing that I caught on it, and I really didn't sit down and see it until this week. Television we just recently purchased.
Mm-hmm.
Going through all the apps that were automatically built into the TV.
Yeah.
Flow Racing,
Hello.
one,
Nice.
and Racing America
There you go.
TV.
See, there are options out there.
I didn't even have to download it. It was built in. I'm going,
Thank you.
hey.
Yeah, exactly. One other bit of, two other bits, I should say, of racing news. Since we began the show reviewing, we reviewed late models, I should say, last week.
Right.
Let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit more because we didn't quite get to this last week. This time we're going to talk about the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. They've decided to work on a major change when it comes to their title points system. They're instituting an elimination-style format where it all whittles down to 4. It's kind of somewhat similar to what the Cup Series does during the playoffs. Season finale will take place at the legendary Eldora Speedway, 4 drivers all capable of claiming the title. But there are going to be more drivers initially up for that than in the Cup Series. We start off with 16. In this case, after the first round of eliminations, 15 will continue to battle, then go down to 12, then to 8, and then to 4. Almost as important, or depending on who you are, maybe more importantly, the championship points fund gets a serious jump up. Grand total goes up by $470,000 total, brings the grand total up over $1 million spread out, with the title winner claiming $200,000. Second place will net you $150,000, $125,000 for third, $100,000 for fourth, and for fifth you get $75,000. This is dirt late models.
This is significant.
Considering you're the driver and you are a dirt late model driver by general trade.
This is significant. I mean, when you look at the 2023 schedule, it's a little bit, I don't think disheartening is the word to say. It's puzzling to see that Lucas Oil Series only makes one trip to the Southeast all year.
Yeah.
And that's during speed weeks in February.
Sure. And then they don't come back.
They're not in Georgia anymore. They're not coming back to Talladega Short Track.
No Alabama, no Mississippi.
They haven't been, and for the life of me, I can't figure out why they're not running the Clash at the Mag anymore. That's arguably one of the biggest events of the year for them, outside of Eldora Speedway, Knoxville.
That's Knoxville, Iowa, by the
Knoxville,
way. Not
Iowa.
Indiana, not Tennessee.
Knoxville, Iowa, Eldora, Lucas Oil Speedway in Wheatland, Missouri for the Diamond Nationals. Outside of those 3, Clash at the Mag is arguably one of the biggest races of the year that they have. And they haven't ran it in 3 years, which is kind of puzzling. But from an overall financial backing standpoint, from the series alone, this is significant because there was a graphic they shared on December the 9th on their social media on the increase from 1st to 12th. First place point fund is increased by 50,000. Second and third were increased by 75,000 respectively. Fourth 60, fifth 40, sixth 28, seventh 20, eighth 19, 9 15, 10 11, 11 7, and 12 5. That's in thousands of dollars increase in the point fund per position. That's big.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, considering the whole, the basis of it, and that, it takes money to make money, as they say, this is exactly what these participants are looking for.
And the way that I've seen in recent weeks how some of the respective well-known names that you know of in dirt late model racing are how do you say it? Declaring their points. Let's word it that way. Declaring where they're going to run for a championship. It's a little bit of a 50-50 split between the World of Outlaws, Case Late Models, and the Lucas Oil Series. Okay? On average, of the national touring guys, there's an average of only 16 to 18 that tour nationally. The majority of the rest of the field are your local and regional guys.
Who take part whenever they can.
Take part in their respective regions.
Yeah.
So you got a better than 50% chance of, if you declare and you're running for a national championship, you're all but going to be in the opening round.
There you go.
John, we need a car. Quick.
You're the producer.
Quick.
Come on.
We need a car.
Make it happen.
We got one sitting in the parking lot right now.
Have fire suit, we'll travel.
There you go. One more racing note, and Matt and I are going to try and be down there for this, for at least the majority of it. The preliminary list for the upcoming 24 hours, Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, has been released. Now, in this case, they're listing only the teams in which division they're entering. No drivers are listed at this time. That's to come. What we do know is this. It's going to be a full 60-car field, so 60 cars will be on the track to start. How many of them finish? That's another story. They got the newest division, by the way, called Grand Touring Prototype. We're going to run this down because if you watch any part of it on television, they're not going to necessarily give you the whole thing. They're going to give you the abbreviations or the acronyms that I'm about to go along with it. So Grand Touring Prototype is called GTP. Full 9 entries featuring 4 car makers, Acura, BMW, Cadillac, and Porsche in alphabetical order. You got Le Mans Prototype 2, LMP2, that has 10 entries. LMP3, Le Mans Prototype 3, 9 entries. GT Daytona Pro, GTDP, that's 8 competitors. And then your largest category, 24 entries in all, GT Daytona, GDP, 60 cars in all.
The credentials come through. This is going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun.
Very fun to watch.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Whether I'll make it the whole time, don't know. But I'm going to try it.
That's the test. Because we got to figure out how we're going to do a show and then get in 24 hours at Daytona. You and I will talk.
Be a lot. It is going to be a lot.
Yes, it is. All right. Merry Christmas. John Cat.
Baseball jerseys.
Yes.
Nice. Appreciate that.
We did football last year. I figured baseball seemed to be the logical next step.
I like that.
I did one thing, though. I changed my number.
You okay this morning?
Oh, yeah. I went 44 because that's a football thing.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite number's 4. And let's face it, I'm a 6'4", somewhat shrinking, 275-pound-ish guy. Nobody's going to mistake me for a kicker. So I went 44. Baseball, I can do 14. I could do 4, I could do 14. I went 14. Why do you think I went 14? Well, if you've been listening to the show, you know I'm a Tony Stewart fan.
And there you are.
So that's it. Mic drop. Let's see here. There is a whole lot of Formula E to get to, so I tell you what we're going to do. John, let's go ahead and set ourselves up and take a break here. And when we come back, yeah, we've ignored Formula E. There's been a whole lot of things like, paint schemes that have been released. And they actually got on track because their season begins next month. But they got on track to get some practice in over in Valencia, Spain. So we'll talk about that. Might be a little surprising if you follow Formula E. We'll let you know about it next on CRN.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. tires only. And back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back in. Appreciate you joining us. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John Myers here a week and a day before Christmas. We've already had our Christmas here on this show. Let's get into some Formula E news. McLaren Formula E team is finalized. They're the last team to do it, I think. Their 2023 driver lineup. They're going to keep the veteran Rene Rast. They're going to pair him with Jake Hughes. You've never heard of him? Understandable. But he has been racing single-seat open-wheel racers for a decade now. He became the BDRC Formula 4 inaugural champion. He worked his way up through Formula Renault, Formula 3, and finally up to Formula 2 just last year. He is also a reserve driver for the Mercedes Formula 1 team. I should get that correct. Rast, on the other hand, has been driving in Formula E in the past. He spent 2 years for the Audi Sport ABT Schaeffler team, claiming the best finish of second at that time. He got the job by finishing out the COVID-interrupted Season 6 by running for Audi in the 6 races in 9 days finale in Berlin that year. And he claimed his first podium finishes there. He returned to the German DTM series, but after that 1 year, he won titles in 2019 and 2020, and now he's back. Hoping to improve upon their woe-begotten Formula E results of late, the former Dragon Penske Racing, which is now called DS Penske Racing, has unveiled their 2023 racers this past week. Got a new look, going black and gold with white lettering. Pretty sharp look, by the way. We've talked about it when it comes to Formula 1. It's a good look on Formula E as well. These are the colors of DS, by the way, and if you don't know what DS is, it's a French automaker. They're partnering with Penske for 2023. They have partnered with a couple of other teams over the course of time. And it seems like every time that they have partnered with an organization, they had an increase in their performance. Mm-hmm. Could this be foreshadowing when we're talking about testing? Stick around.
Da-da-da.
For their driver lineup, they got a pretty good pair. Defending Formula E champion Stoffel Van Dorn and two-time Formula E title winner Jean-Eric Vergne. They were on hand for the unveiling. It's a team that hopes to return to their days when they did early in Formula E action, win 10 races, and claimed 2 driver and team titles, had 15 pole positions and 28 podium finishes. Yeah, but those were the early days of the young series. Hasn't been lately.
No.
Team principal Jay Penske said, quote, "This season is a defining moment for our team. New generation of racing car, new powertrain, and a historic alliance with the manufacturer we've admired for years." Suck up. "We couldn't be more excited for Season 9. We believe our prospects for the season remain incredibly strong, with Stoffel and JEV securing the strongest and most experienced lineup in the series." I got to admit, he's right. Make it work, Jay.
Wonder where he learned all the suck up from.
Hey, Dad.
Yep. Pretty much.
Apparently, it's been a week or two for unveilings. Nissan moves into their new era of Formula E by sporting a new color. They're taking cherry red from Japan's iconic Sakura flower for their new for 2024 drivers, Sasha Fenestras and veteran Formula E driver Norman Nato. Jaguar changing things up a little bit, got a new look for returning drivers Mitch Evans and Sam Bird. The nose cone will be black, but as the bodywork starts to work their way around the driver cockpit, one side continues black, the other side's white. The cars are actually mirror images of each other, literally. The black and white are not identical from car to car. They're exactly the opposite. So if you're black as it goes down the left side of the car as you're looking on the front for one driver, it's black on the right side for the other. It's actually not a bad look. Then you got, let's see, McLaren's new 2023 racer. They're keeping the familiar papaya orange, but they're adding a whole lot of black along the sides and then a thin light blue stripe that helps create a change from black to orange. They are keeping driver Rene Rast. They're pairing him with new for 2023 driver Jake Hughes, I think, as we mentioned just a little bit ago. Maserati's MSG operation unveiled their new for 2023 racer. Remember, they are picking this up from the old Mercedes team. They're calling it the Tipo Folgore. Folgore? It's Italian. I don't know. Sorry, I don't speak Italian.
Just call it the coffee car, the Folger's car.
There you go. Unless it's lasagna, I don't really talk Italian. It's overwhelmingly swathed in the company's trademark blue along the top of the car, black along the sides. They named it in honor of the team's very first racer, the Tipo 26. It's appropriately raced in 1926. Won that year's Targa Florio road endurance race in the mountains of Sicily. After a year outside of Formula E, the ABT team is back. This time they've combined with Spanish carmaker Cupra, C-U-P-R-A. If you haven't heard of them over here, it's because they don't sell here. They officially become the ABT Cupra Formula E team, showing off their new for 2023 racer. Dark blue, even darker than Maserati, over the front half of the car. turning to highlighter yellow stripes along the bodywork and over the driver cockpit and towards the back of the car. The blue turns a very lighter shade of blue for 2023 drivers Robin Freins and the returning driver Nico Muller. Porsche has finalized their drivers for 2023 as well, noting that their reserve driver is going to be David Beckman, and he's going to move over from Avalanche Andretti, where he was a reserve driver last year. They've paired him with the returning reserve driver, Simona Di Silvestro. She's been aligned with Porsche since 2019 when they debuted in Formula E. Obviously, she's well-versed in open-wheel racing. She was the 2010 Indy 500 Rookie of the Year. She's raced in Formula E for Andretti Autosport back in the 2015-2016 season. Has also been a reserve driver for Sauber in 2014 and got more than one FP1 practice session. So, yeah, open wheels. She knows how to run them. She hasn't had a whole lot of success, though, and I'm not sure whether that's her, the equipment, or some combination thereof.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
If I'm going to have to bet anything, I'm going to say equipment.
Probably. I mean, yeah, Rookie of the Year in 2010, but I'd have to go back and look. I don't know what her competition was for Rookie.
She was in a Lotus.
Yeah.
That's all you got to say right there. Lotus.
Let's just say this. It's been a long time since we talked about Lotus being an engine supplier in IndyCar, and there's a reason for that.
Or even motorsports, period.
That's also true. Finally, Formula E, after all of that, can return to some on-track action. Preseason testing got underway in Valencia, Spain on Tuesday. Maserati. Again, they inherited, effectively, the Mercedes operation. But they came out strong. Driver Max Gunther got the fastest lap. His teammate Eduardo Mortara backed it up with the fourth quickest lap. Only a half a second slower than Gunther. In between of the two Maseratis, they've been needing this. The two Tag Heuer Porsches, Pascal Wehrlein and Antonio Felix da Costa, 4/100ths and 4/10ths slower, respectively, than the quickest time of the first day. Another surprise on day one, the rise of the Dragon Penske team, now known as DS Penske. Their drivers Van Dorn and Jean-Eric Verne getting 5th and 6th quickest. Avalanche Andretti cars 7th and 10th. And a Neo F333 sighting as they had the 9th quickest lap on day one. Preseason testing came officially to an end yesterday. Maserati continued to show muscle. Gunther, the fastest in the final session, set a new Formula E lap record around Valencia, 1 minute 25.127 seconds. Stoffel Van Dorn and DS Penske were only a 10th off of his pace. And here comes Mahindra with Oliver Rowland. They put the 3rd fastest lap up on the last day of testing. It'll be interesting to see how this translates into their new season.
Yeah, I've seen the other day, too. There are some chirps. Formula E car may be coming on to iRacing. I won't be getting it.
What, you don't want to sound like you're going around a basketball court you're actually racing?
I actually want to be able to hear an engine go when I'm driving. Instead of hearing...
Yeah. For those of you that are relatively new to this particular part of the show here, we've gotten a kick out of this. We thought of it as really a curiosity when it debuted not quite a decade ago now. And for the last several years, whether it was initially it was Fox Sports, now it's CBS Sports Network. So unless they happen to show up on CBS, I don't get the CBS Sports Network. I don't know about you. So I haven't been able to watch these races on a regular basis, but occasionally they'll show up on CBS, regular CBS. And it's fascinating because if you've ever listened to a basketball scrimmage or a pickup basketball game or whatever it is that you want to talk about, what you hear effectively is a whole lot of squeaking on the floor because the sneakers are rubbing up against whatever hardwood happens to be there. That's a lot of what Formula E sounds like with a high-pitched whine of the electric motor. But when they debuted, the very, very first ever Formula One race that aired on television, I had to watch it because, again, it's a curiosity, and that's what we do here on this show. And it was on Fox Sports 1 at the time. And it took me a second to figure out exactly what seemed off with the whole racing thing, and then I understood what it was. the producers of this particular race were so worried about having no engine noise and didn't know what kind of noise to expect that for the entirety of the race, they had a music bed. I'll let that sink in for just a second. They put a music bed under a race. And now this has turned into a world championship FIA world title deal along the lines of Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, NHRA. I mean, we're talking major series, major title recognized all around the world. But it had a weird start. There ain't no doubt about that.
It did. Very much did. Very much did.
And think about it. They're going into season 9 now. They're already onto their third generation of car, which is a little bit more powerful. They got a little bit more power coming out of this battery pack. So we'll see what happens over the course of this next season.
For the ones that have never seen a Formula E race, but yet you've been to Audubon Speedway and driven the go-karts over on the other side of Birmingham?
Sure. Or maybe over in Atlanta, because I think they got one over there.
No, they got Andretti in Atlanta.
Whatever. They got something similar in it.
Yeah, it's Andretti in Atlanta. There's not Audubon in Atlanta. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
It does. Sounds a lot like that.
A lot like that.
Then we get to the guys who actually have engines.
Bingo.
You know, internal combustion. Plenty from Formula One this week, and it begins with actually a little bit of complaining, which we have heard from more and more people when it comes to this series. The expansion of the schedule up to 24 planned races in 2023 is actually causing some to potentially consider retirement much earlier than they would have previously planned, including the two-time defending champion Max Verstappen, who said that more than 20 races in a season is, his words, too much. He expanded on the comment, quote, "It's the main reason why I will not continue to do this until I turn 40. This much traveling and activity is just not healthy. I still really like it now, but you have to give a lot up for it as well. This sounds crazy because driving Formula One is, of course, a dream for many people, but you are always very far from home and the people you love. There comes a time when you are done with that. When I'm done with it, I'll stop. It's that simple. So how long do we likely have Verstappen? Well, Liberty Media has said that they would like to have 24 races on a regular basis. So let's look at Verstappen's contract. Runs through 2028. That would make Max Verstappen the ripe old age of 31. He admits he could easily walk away from Formula One then, but as far as racing, he says that's another story. He's long been fascinated by the prestigious 24 Hours of Le Mans. Said, quote, "I've still got time. Don't want to make a drastic decision now. I want to do other stuff. Formula One is amazing, and I've achieved a lot, and I'm very happy and proud about it, but it's a lot of traveling and a lot of races. What is more important? Is family more important, or is Formula One more important? You need to make your mind up." Now, we've talked about this, and I'm about to let Matt get up on a soapbox because I know he's got it out ready. He's dusted and polished it. I get what he's talking about in this case because their season runs not quite as long as NASCAR's, but longer than IndyCar's. They'll start late February, early March. I think it's early to mid-March this year. Early March this year, and they'll go until early November. NASCAR goes from mid-February until November. So it's not really that much longer, but I do see where he's coming from when it says a lot of travel and being far away from home and family, because NASCAR goes all around the United States, and that is a lot of travel. Formula One goes all around the world.
Since we have just a moment, we'll give you an example on what he's talking about. I kind of have, keyword kinda, having agreements here with Max. Yeah, you're a long way from home because, let's say, he's Dutch from the Netherlands. Let's just say his home's in Amsterdam.
Okay.
Okay.
And we don't know that for a fact, but it's probably a fairly good supposition.
Now, while I'm reading this off here, let's just close our eyes and let's picture going in a zigzag here,
Or grab a globe.
or grab a globe. Let's start. We start in Bahrain.
John in the background going, "What's a globe?"
You go to Saudi Arabia, Australia, Azerbaijan.
Okay, so you start off in his home in Amsterdam. You go to the Middle East. You go down under, which is effectively halfway around the world. Okay.
Back to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Miami,
So then a trip across the Atlantic,
Italy,
back across the Atlantic.
Emilia Romagna, Monaco, Spain,
So you get to stick around Europe for a little while.
Canada,
Back across the Atlantic.
Austria,
Hey, let's go back.
Great Britain,
Mm-hmm.
Hungary,
Sticking around Europe for the most part.
Belgium,
Mm-hmm.
Netherlands,
Mm-hmm.
home game,
Yeah, for Max.
Italy at Monza, Singapore,
Asia.
Japan,
Mm-hmm.
Qatar,
Middle East.
Austin, Texas.
All the way across the Atlantic. You think about it now. Do a quick search whenever you get a moment. How many miles is it from Qatar or Qatar, however you wish to pronounce it, to Austin, Texas? It's a haul. From Austin, Texas, you go to Mexico City,
Mexico,
Brazil,
Brazil,
then back to America for Vegas.
Las Vegas,
Yep. And then we're going where?
Abu Dhabi.
That's right, back to the Middle East. So that trip from Qatar to Austin, Texas, effectively go Vegas to Abu Dhabi, which is probably going to be about the same distance. That is a lot of travel. That's a lot of miles over the course of a time period from March to November.
Here's your distance from Qatar, Doha, Qatar, to Austin, Texas,
Okay.
in kilometers. 12,992 kilometers, which comes out to a distance in mileage of 7,000. No, check that.
Okay.
8,105 nautical miles.
Okay. So it's an easy 8,000 miles. No worries. So it's probably the better part of 8,000 miles to go from Vegas to Abu Dhabi, give or take. That's 16,000 miles just in that period of time alone. And in between, you're going from Austin to Mexico City, down to Brazil, back up from Brazil to Vegas, and then over to Abu Dhabi. Ugh. These guys are racking up some miles on these planes. I get it. They're running private planes, and they got weekends built in that are off. They get practically the entire month of August off. But yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I can see where he's coming from. But again, this isn't like the old days when you had to tow your vehicle, NASCAR, all over the country.
In the old days, in a pickup truck and an open trailer.
Exactly. And probably you spent the vast majority of the time sleeping somewhere at the track, maybe in the front seat of the truck, if you got that comfortable.
Yeah.
Racing it's vastly changed. It's a lot more comfortable. It's a lot easier to get things transported from one place to another. It's also much more expensive to do it. But yeah, we as a general rule, as much as we like to go see things, when you're racking up as many miles of travel as these guys are in a year, I can see where it could wear on you.
It's absolutely crazy on your guess of how close the mileage is from Qatar to Austin, from Vegas to Abu Dhabi. 8,105 from
Qatar
to Texas.
Yeah.
8,187 from Vegas to Abu Dhabi.
It's actually further.
82 miles. But, Max, you get paid to do this.
Handsomely.
Shut up and drive the car.
Yeah.
Thank
you get paid handsomely, and they're coddling you, baby. Yep. Suck it up and drive, dude. Suck it up and drive. As long as you can handle it, do it.
If you don't want to, I will.
Sure. Meanwhile, the business of F1 rolls on. We talked about Ferrari and Mattia Binotto last week officially parting ways. We know who the replacement is. Heck, you do too. We'll talk about it next on CRN.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Well, as we noted, F1 business continues to roll on. We noted on the show last week, again, that Ferrari and Mattia Binotto officially parted ways. His resignation is effective the final day of the year, December the 31st. Most insiders were believing his replacement was going to be Alfa Romeo's Frederick Vasseur. And they were right. Vasseur comes off a season which he led Alfa Romeo Sauber to an organization overall 6th in the Constructors' Cup points. Not bad. Not bad at all. At the same time, he oversaw a team as they announced a major transition. They announced their partnership with Alfa Romeo will come to an end after the 2023 season, and Audi will come in with an ownership stake officially for the 2026 season. Obviously, Vasseur not going to be there for that. Jumps to the team that Sauber's been affiliated with since 2010. They've been using Ferrari engines since that season. Vasseur's been with Sauber for 6 years now. The jump to Ferrari is basically kind of see if he can finish the job that Binotto started. If you remember, Binotto and every other Ferrari executive before him, their job is basically to get Ferrari back to the top of the Formula One world. Vasseur said of this opportunity, quote, "I'm truly delighted and honored to take over the leadership of the Scuderia Ferrari as team principal. As someone who has always held a lifelong passion for motorsport, Ferrari has always represented the very pinnacle of the racing world to me. Look forward to working with the talented and truly passionate team in Maranello to honor the history and heritage of the Scuderia and deliver for our tifosi, Ferrari fans, around the world." Now, I say what Binotto began because what Binotto began in 2022 helped Ferrari come out of the gates on fire. They won 2 of the first 3 races, led many to think they might actually legitimately unseat Mercedes and Red Bull's hold on Formula One. And then reality set in. Things faded. Red Bull ran away with both the driver and the Constructors' Cup titles for 2022. Ferrari has been on quite the little drought here. They haven't won a driver's title since 2007, and they haven't won a Constructors' Cup in Formula One since 2008. Since then, it's either been Red Bull or Mercedes, with one McLaren, dominating as the title winners. So this created a domino effect. Binotto leaves, Vasseur takes over his job, vacates his job over at Sauber. And we're going to start to call him Sauber with all due respect to Alfa Romeo because after 2023, that's what they're going to be for a couple of years. Well, Sauber actually wasted no time. To take over Vasseur's role as CEO, they pulled from McLaren Andreas Seidel. All these moves are becoming official as 2023 dawns. Keep this in mind. Seidel said his first job when he gets settled in his new desk is going to be to find a new team principal. This marks, by the way, a return to Sauber for Seidel. He worked for the team from 2000 to 2009, back when they were affiliated with BMW. Yeah, back in the days when BMW used to be in Formula One. All right, so here we go. Again, sometimes you can't tell the players without a scorecard, right? Vasseur leaves Sauber to go to Ferrari. Andreas Seidel leaves McLaren to go to Sauber. Seidel leaving the role of McLaren's team principal, going there. What does McLaren do? Well, they actually decided not to pull from some other team. They promoted from within. They're going to put in Andrea Stella as their new team principal. Stella moving into the role from being the executive director of racing under Seidel at McLaren. Stella's been with McLaren since 2015, coming in as their head of racing operations, moved up to performance director, and then into the role he had. That was the role he had before he became team principal. He inherits a team seemingly, I say seemingly because we've seen this before, on the rise. One that finished 5th in the Constructors' Cup last year. They were battling Alpine for 4th all year long, but just missed out on it at the end. Now for 2023, they're expecting big things from their young drivers. They've got Lando Norris returning. He's now the senior member because Daniel Ricciardo left the team, remember? And they're bringing in a rookie for 2023, Oscar Piastri. Now, I say seemingly on the rise because we have seen this before. In the American-based team, Haas F1, which at their height, at least to date, they finished 5th in the Constructors' Cup standings, and that was 2018?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
And since then, what has Haas F1 done? Well, that's right, they've slipped back down, scoring 0 points in 2021. and they've got a rookie.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure what to expect from them out of 2023, just to be real honest. But, at the same time, McLaren doesn't waste time with also-rans.
Right.
I mean, they do it in Formula One. They've done it in IndyCar. They don't waste time with also-rans. So they must see something in Oscar Piastri that tells them that the rookie may be able to adjust quickly.
Yeah. I seen something the other day with the driver's numbers in 2023 for F1. This has to be the widest gap I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we talked about, one of the drivers chose 81.
Yeah, I mean, it's, Verstappen 1, Logan Sargent 2, Lando Norris 4, Pierre Gasly 10, Sergio Perez 11, Alonso 14, Leclerc 16, Stroll 18, Magnussen 20, Nick DeVries 21, Yuki Tsunoda 22, Alex Albon 23, Zhu Guanyu 24, Nico Hülkenberg 27, Esteban Ocon 31, obviously Lewis Hamilton 44,
Right.
Sainz 55, George Russell 63. Don't know why.
I've never heard the explanation on why he chose 63.
Bottas 77, of course, and then Oscar Piastri 81.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a wide range.
Piastri, again, choosing 81 just because it was a number that he ran really, really early on in his racing career, and it was what was available out of all the numbers that he tends to run. So,
Yep.
And by the way, just to let you know, there are several numbers that are fairly heritage in the racing world that you didn't hear, but remember the Formula One rules. Your number sticks with you for life, for your entire career, and to the point where it stays with you for 2 years after you retire. If you don't run a race, then it goes back into and can be picked by another driver. But if you run one single race, Daniel Ricciardo could be a reserve driver, and he is a reserve driver. If he gets in the car, it becomes effectively him running it, even though he would be running somebody else's car. That's still Daniel Ricciardo running it, so that 2 years starts to recount. So Ricciardo, who uses the number 3, is keeping the number 3 until he is gone, period, from Formula One for at least 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You awake yet? Williams has returned to the bottom of the Formula One pile back for last year. As a result, they've decided to make a change at the top. They fired team principal Jos Capito. They say, we agreed to part ways. You got fired after the 2022 season, a season in which they scored a grand total of 8 Constructor Cup points. Doralton Capital bought the team from the Williams family in 2020, lured Capito out of retirement. For 2021, they were looking pretty good. Moved out of the bottom into 8th in the Constructors' Cup standings then. But then they lost George Russell to Mercedes, and despite bringing in Alex Albon from the Red Bull operation, it just wasn't quite the same. And, well, let's face it, Nicholas Latifi never lived up to the hype that was behind him when he came into F1.
Yep.
So Latifi's gone. You talked about the American driver Logan Sargent. He's in. Now Capito is gone, along with technical director FX de Maison. Team says the replacements for those two will be named in due course. How British of you.
Just take Williams and just shelf the name, retire it. Bring back the Tyrrell 6-wheel car. Bring it back.
Wouldn't that be
Put
interesting?
Elf on the side of it like it used to be.
Might as well do something
great.
big. Make a big swing.
Do
shouldn't you?
something.
Mick Schumacher does not have a full-time ride for next year. Remember, he has been replaced at Haas F1 by Nico Hülkenberg. But he's landed pretty softly.
Oh, this is the kids. This is the definition of landing on a very soft, puffy cloud.
Yeah. Falling upstairs might also be another way of looking at it, with all due respect to the fine folks at Haas F1. The now former Haas F1 driver has indeed cut ties with Ferrari. He was a development driver, and that's how he got basically assigned, if you will, between an agreement between Ferrari and Haas F1 to allow him to drive for them the last 2 years. Well, he said during the 2022 season that he felt he was likely to cut ties with Ferrari as the development driver, and after losing his seat at Haas F1 to Nico Hülkenberg, Schumacher wasted very, very little time. He officially cut ties on Thursday with Ferrari, and within hours of that news coming down, I think it was pre-planned. Mercedes swooped in and signed him to become a reserve driver behind George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Here's the thing. George Russell signed to a multi-year deal. Lewis Hamilton, who's in the final year of his contract with Mercedes for 2023, says that he wants a multi-year extension to stay with Mercedes. So I'm thinking Mick Schumacher's not going to become full-time at Mercedes anytime too soon. They do have the affiliation with Williams, but they seem pretty set, at least for now, between Albon and their new kid, Logan Sargent. I'm really not so certain where we're going to find Mick Schumacher land a full-time ride.
Isn't there an out in Alex Albon's contract that Red Bull still has, that if they want him, they could get him back?
There may be.
Whether it be for Red Bull or AlphaTauri?
There may be. I don't know. Time will tell.
That's the only door that you have, Mick, with this one.
So far.
And it's cracked about that much.
Yeah, so far. Hopefully you signed a 1-year deal to be a reserve driver at Mercedes, because other teams may have openings after 2023. We'll see. Let's see. In, out, back in apparently. For who? Honda. The Honda Racing Corporation has registered with Formula One and the FIA, expressing an interest in being a power unit supplier for 2026 engine regulations.
Those doggone pesky Japanese guys.
No kidding. Make up your minds, dude. By the way, this is actually no guarantee that they actually will be an official Formula One power unit supplier for that year, but it does keep the company's options open as the 2026 new regulations approach. At the moment, they're full technical partners with Red Bull and AlphaTauri, but officially have withdrawn as a power unit supplier from Formula One as of the end of 2021.
That's code word for they're still building Red Bull's engines, and they're just branded different.
Yeah. And the funny thing is the Honda logo is still on the side of the AlphaTauri and Red Bull cars.
Yep.
The team and the company signed a technical alliance after 2021, which runs through the 2025 season. And unless things change, the plan would be then for Red Bull to be on their own. But even if Honda does return, maybe it won't be Honda and Red Bull. Because this rumor came out of left field, and I'm talking deep left field, warning track up against the wall, left field.
More like past the left field foul pole.
Ford. You know, Ford, the Blue Oval company that's based here in the United States of America. Ford.
I want to call for an official review on this one. Who's been saying Ford for the longest time on here?
He has. Ford was last involved in and they have been involved in Formula One before, but the last time they were was with the Jaguar team between 2000 and 2004. They were never really a contender to win a race, much less titles. And when Jaguar pulled the plug and sold the team to Red Bull, Ford quietly pulled out of the series. Since then, Ford has made very little noise about getting back into F1, but motorsport.com reports that the increase in the popularity of the series in the United States has Ford maybe looking at it again. The website claims that sources are telling them Ford is exploring options with Red Bull as the two companies are partnered together in the World Rallycross Series. Interest is only being an engine provider. Makes Ford different from Porsche because Porsche has an interest in a share of ownership with the team. And the thing about this is, and the reason why I say motorsport is a reliable, generally, source of news that we will pull from regularly here on this show.
On the F1 side. Let me stress that. On the F1 side.
Sure. At this point in time, though, motorsport.com is literally the only site, the only news source that is reporting this potential connection.
I saw that as well.
So it's one of two things.
Yeah.
Either they have great inside sources,
or
they're full of...
or they're making up news during the offseason.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which one is it? We don't know. Obviously, there's plenty of time.
I will say that.
And there'll be a lot of water going under this bridge before we find out for sure.
I'll say this much. the F1 division of motorsport.com,
Pretty solid.
They are.
generally solid.
They are. I got to give them that. They are.
Now, the NASCAR side of motorsport.com doesn't know how to utterly keep their mouth shut.
I was wondering
how you put
were
that.
going to work that in.
Yeah. They don't know how to utterly keep their mouth shut.
So, again, I don't know whether to take this with a grain of salt. I'm taking it with a small one. How's that? It's not a salt lick. Certainly not that. It's a small grain of salt. I'm going to take it with a small grain of salt. But at this point in time, based upon their record in the past of generally being very reliable and on it, there may be something here. And you think about it. Audi comes in. They're going to pair, as we've talked about just a moment ago, with Alfa Romeo, now Sauber. Porsche wants to get in. Ford is now making noise about getting in. And these are the engine providers, but Porsche, like I mentioned, wants to be in on an ownership stake as well. So Ford's talking about getting in, Porsche coming in, Audi coming in, plus you got Ferrari, Mercedes, Renault, Honda potentially coming back officially. And oh, by the way, there's still that whole deal about Andretti Autosport talking about trying to get in as a team in Formula One. Huh.
So then, hypothetically, this does happen. How long is it until we see Red Bull Mustangs roll off the lift gate?
A potential embarrassment of riches coming for Formula One. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hour number 2 already getting underway. Holy cow. Where's the time going?
Let's go.
One more note, quasi-Formula One related, because the first 5 teams to join the new series, the F1 Academy, That's that all-female series that we were talking about that's on a level with Formula 4. The teams have been named. The drivers have not yet, but the teams have. This includes 2 teams that have fielded cars in IndyCar, Campos and Carlin Racing. The other 3 are ART Grand Prix, MP Motorsport, and Prema, PREMA Racing. Each team going to field 3 cars in the inaugural season to make up the 15-car field. MP Motorsport, their history, got a 2022 double in Formula 2. They claimed the Constructors' Cup and the Drivers' Championship with driver Felipe Drugovich. ART Grand Prix saw their driver Victor Martins claim the Formula 3 Drivers' Championship. Carlin Racing fielded cars for Logan Sargent in Formula 2. Campos Racing claimed the Formula 4 Constructors' Cup title this past season. F1, like we said, F1 Academy is basically on a level of racing with Formula 4. The goal is to give more opportunities for women in motorsport, to feed them up into the W Series, assuming it survives, and on up into Formula 3, Formula 2, and maybe Formula 1.
You mean to tell me Uncle Caitlin's not fielding the team?
Not yet.
Wow.
I think Uncle Caitlin is still thinking about trying to be in the W Series.
Oh.
Again, we'll see if they survive this.
Considering you lost your big gun to Andretti, I don't think you have much of a chance.
Yeah. Good luck. We'll be talking about her in a minute, too. As we talk about IndyCar as well, where IndyCar's Mark Miles didn't give specifics about this, but did state that an area of the series budget that needed a big increase has finally gotten one. The Penske Entertainment CEO said, quote, "Our plan is to make a significant increase in our investment in the marketing and promotion of the IndyCar series in 2023. They noted that they're being outspent by pretty much all the other major motorsports series. Read NASCAR, Formula 1, NHRA. Made it a necessity. He didn't give specifics. IndyCar is a privately owned organization, so they actually don't have to release their financial numbers. But when the number of $3 million got mentioned, Miles seemed to dismiss that tally as being too low. Thing is, there isn't actually anybody in charge of IndyCar's marketing department right now, because the guy who held it previously, S.J. Lutke, he left that position right after the 2022 season ended, and they haven't filled it yet. Might want to find a guy. 2023 season's coming up on you quick. Oh... Talking about not being able to tell the players without a scorecard. How about changing the name again? Arrow McLaren SP is about to be shortened before the 2023 season begins. They will become simply known as Arrow McLaren. The SP initials did denote the team's founders, Sam Schmidt and Rick Peterson, but those two guys sold the 75% interest in the team to McLaren back for the 2021 year. McLaren officials insist that even those initials will disappear. Their roles with the team will remain. This is a team that actually began as Sam Schmidt Motorsports back in 2001, or SSM if you wish. 2011 became Schmidt Hamilton Motorsports when the Hewlett-Packard Company became a major sponsor via company head Davey Hamilton, Schmidt Hamilton. For 2014, it changed again when Rick Peterson bought into the organization. It became Schmidt Peterson Motorsports. Arrow signed on as a title sponsor in 2019, so it became Arrow Schmidt Peterson Motorsports. And then McLaren bought in that 75%, and that brings us to where we are now, Arrow McLaren Racing SP. Set to become Arrow McLaren Racing. Period. Confused yet?
Yeah, a little bit.
Take another bite of your Cheerios. You'll be all right. A couple of IndyCar drivers set to join the Race of Champions in Sweden in early 2023. Native Swede Felix Rosenqvist going to be there from Arrow McLaren Racing SP. Speaking of them, this marks actually his first time to race in the Race of Champions. New for 2023 Indy NXT driver Jamie Chadwick.
There's your winner.
She'll be there too, represents her home country of Great Britain. Others that are confirmed to compete from Formula One, the now retired Sebastian Vettel will be teamed with Mick Schumacher for Germany. Mika Hakkinen and fellow Finland native Valtteri Bottas will compete. We talked about the Formula 2 champion Felipe Drugovich. He's going to run. World Rally title winner Thierry Neuville will run. The 24 Hours Le Mans winner Tom Christensen will be there. There's more. The American team has yet to be named. We'll keep an eye out for that.
I can go ahead and officially announce I will not be a part of it, unfortunately.
He's already withdrawn his name.
I'm not withdrawing. I'm just never was under consideration.
I gotcha.
We considered you, Matt.
Okay.
Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket over there?
You and I.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize we had a say in who was participating in the Race of Champions.
Sure we do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we just said it. That's our full involvement in it. To the Cup Series in NASCAR, where Live Fast Racing has already announced they're set to field Chevrolet Camaros for 2023. We talked about that last week. Their flagship number 78. We know one of the drivers, Josh Bilicki. Ziegler Auto Group going to be his sponsor in that part-time role. How many races Bilicki is going to get? Not fully announced. We know 3 of them. He'll be driving in the debut Chicago Street Course race. He'll also drive in Michigan and in Indianapolis in August. It makes sense. He is a Midwestern-based driver. Ziegler Auto Group is a Midwestern-based company. So, Chicago, Michigan, Indianapolis, that kind of makes sense.
He's a road course driver by trade, so B.J. McLeod, you would be insanely, idiotically dumb to not put him in all of the road course races. Thank you.
Matt has spoken. Columbia Sportswear signing a multi-year extension of their sponsorship deal with 2311 Racing. As part of that deal, they're going to up the number of races they're going to be as primary of the number 23 from Bubba Wallace. It was 3. We know it goes up, but we don't know how many. 6, 7, 10?
I saw 5.
Did you? Okay. Columbia first partnered with Wallace back in August of 2020, back when Wallace was still driving for Petty Motorsports.
Hey.
He's stuck with them since then. Trackhouse Racing owner Justin Marks. This guy is going places.
And is very, very dangerous as the owner and a businessman.
Yeah. And in a good way.
And in the most positive way possible.
Yep. Justin Marks has created a new division of his overarching umbrella company called Trackhouse Entertainment Group. That's where Trackhouse Racing operates under. They now have a new sister organization under the Trackhouse Entertainment Group entitled Trackhouse 360. This backs up Marks' recent desire to expand his company into other forms of entertainment. Dean Stoyer, who has 30 years of sports marketing experience, has been named the brand strategy director of Trackhouse 360. According to Marks, the plan for Trackhouse 360 is to develop, quote, creative and compelling original content, non-traditional merchandise, and apparel. They're also set to become promoters of varying events. Marks said, quote, now that we have established a competitive racing team, it's time to take the next step in building a business that educates, entertains, and inspires millions of Americans through compelling storytelling and experiences. Hey, Justin. We're available. Talk to us.
Hi.
Just saying.
We're here.
Front Row Motorsports set to stick with the same duo that ran for them last year. Michael McDowell going to be in the 34. Todd Gilliland returns in the 38. This will mark the 6th year for McDowell and Gilliland. It will be his 2nd season. Travis Peterson, we talked about this about a month ago, takes over as crew chief on the number 34. Gilliland's crew chief for 2023 going to be a gentleman by the name of Ryan Bergenti. He was the car chief for McDowell on the 34 in 2022. He's got previous experience as a car chief, not as a crew chief, at both Chip Ganassi Racing and Furniture Row Racing.
Why don't you leave the guy that was on the 34 car on the 34 car? Kind of makes sense. Oh, wait. Common sense doesn't exist anymore.
There you have it. JTG Dougherty Racing announced on Friday that they and their partner Kimberly Clark have become an elite partners. They'll be featured on a majority of the brands. They'll feature a majority of the brands over the course of the season. The first one, Cottonelle. They're going to get primary sponsorship for the prestigious Daytona 500. Other brands that'll be featured under the Kimberly Clark banner, Viva Paper Towels, Scott Brand Lawn Treatments, and, of course, longtime partner Kroger Supermarkets. You take a trip over to Georgia, you're pretty familiar with Kroger Supermarkets. They're coming into Alabama. I understand that they have at least one in the Auburn area. Supermarket.
One in Huntsville, too.
They do have one in Huntsville.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I have seen Kroger delivery trucks
And I was about
touring
to
around Homewood.
Everywhere.
Yep. They're getting into the delivery part, and they're coming into states that previously Kroger had not necessarily been fully involved in. So, yeah, get used to it. Kroger expanding their footprint. Really, really cool stuff here. We've been talking about the whole North Wilkesboro Speedway bit for quite a while now. When the Cup Series announced a couple of months ago, actually, that they're going to be coming back there with the Cup Series for the All-Star race. If you happen to remember it from back when the Cup Series last raced there, and we're talking 30?
26 years.
26 years? Okay.
Yep.
You're going to be in for a little bit of a surprise if you remember it from then but haven't seen it since. Renovations are well underway. LED lighting. It's a system that they say will allow for the lights to do different things during green and yellow flag conditions.
No. I'm going to stop you right there.
If you've ever been to Bryant-Denny Stadium or to Jordan-Hare Stadium, they've got those updated LED lights up there, and when you get a touchdown, all of a sudden, all those colors seem to change if you happen to be watching it on television. I haven't been into the stadium since then.
I've been to both.
You have.
I've been to both. Steve Swift, Marcus Smith, all the guys at SMI, I want to stop you right there. Because all it's going to take, speaking from the medical side of life here, is one fan being in the stands that unfortunately deals with epileptic seizures. Because those LED lights will trigger an epileptic seizure that quick.
Got to be careful with that.
They are... Your first reaction was, oh dear Lord, what is this? Woo! That's all
you think it looks weird on television? You ought to be there.
It's wild.
Yeah. The infield also undergoing a major renovation, better drainage. They're going to get repave on the infield. Let me repeat, on the infield. The scoring pylon's going to keep their overall look, but they're going to change out the panels to LED, so it should be a little bit easier to read. The Turn 3 scoreboard, they're actually returning it to manual operation. They state it'll be updated every 10 laps, whether it's needed or not. They also plan on doing expanded Wi-Fi for both media and NASCAR. The one thing that's set to remain, at least for now, is the current racing surface. Victory Lane and the metal grandstands. Those are set to remain. They all of which either will or soon could be in the plans for an upgrade. One thing that's not for the foreseeable future, the vintage signing around the track, the dates from the 1990s or before. That is set to stay, including the big mural that says the Winston Cup Series that's been there probably since 1972.
They're leaving that, but they're going to put something on there that modernizes it, but they're going to leave it in their original state.
Okay.
It's like a...
Got to do something to protect it at the very least.
It's like a wrap-style thing that will protect it, like you just said.
Yeah.
But
okay. It'd be interesting to watch this process.
Manual scoreboard.
We're back to a manual operation.
Manual operate scoreboard. Marcus. I'm free All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, just noting. Then we got the transformation of the LA Coliseum, or Mausoleum, as I like to call it. Yep, they're going to make it a short track again as the 2023 Busch Light Clash returns there for a second straight year. How long does it actually take to transform the football field into a racetrack? Well, the race will take place Sunday, February the 5th. The transformation began officially on Thursday. Crews are set to work around the clock, except for Christmas and New Year's days, and presumably New Year's Eve, to prepare the quarter-mile oval covering the football surface first with plywood and other synthetic material, and then laying down 9,200 cubic yards of gravel. The asphalt will be laid down beginning January the 4th. Then they'll put in the barriers and fencing that they're borrowing from Auto Club Speedway and the Long Beach Grand Prix. And then the safer barrier slated to be installed January the 20th. That marks the final item on the to-do list. And then they state that they'll be ready for racing Sunday, February the 5th.
Okay. Two sizable bullet points here. First off, you would think that the University of Southern California would have enough sense. You can roll the turf up and take it out and maintain it to where it's still in good shape and you don't have to put new turf. You know what? This is an excuse to get brand new turf on the field every year.
Pretty much.
Because if you're putting plywood over the grass, you're essentially
going to kill it.
Secondly, and this is your head scratcher of the day here. Why are we doing a groundbreaking ceremony for something that has ran for 2 years now? Why?
Because we like to have ceremonies.
Your inaugural, very first thing before it comes, I fully get it. But why are we breaking ground on something that already existed. Why?
Like I said, because we like to have ceremonies.
The bigger question is, why not use an available track instead of building a track?
Huh. Let me think.
What that guy said right there.
Let me think.
Right there.
That makes sense.
Makes too much sense. Like Matt said earlier, no common sense.
2023 All-Star Race, Barber Motorsports Park. That exists. 2023 All-Star Race, North Wilkesboro. That exists.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Busch Clash. Let's rephrase that. My bad.
Well, my biggest problem with this, I get it. They're trying to break you into the LA market. I understand that.
Last I checked, Auto Club Speedway is the LA market.
I know.
Ding, ding.
And I get that they had the fascination of it last year when they sold out. They sold about 75% of the tickets in this 100,000 seat, humongous, ridiculously large stadium.
It was a novelty.
Because it was a novelty. I will be very interested to see if they come anywhere close to that total for this coming year.
That wasn't a hard sellout.
And here's my other problem with this. And I said this last year at about this time, so pardon me if I repeat myself to those of you who have been longtime listeners to the show. To paraphrase or to borrow from comedian Ron White, does anybody own a globe? Think about what we're doing here. Think about what NASCAR is about to do at the beginning of 2023. It's exactly what they did at the beginning of 2022. They got to truck everybody out from the Charlotte, North Carolina area to Los Angeles to compete in what is a money grab exhibition race.
And then
you got to haul them all the way back across the country to race in the Daytona 500.
And then
Once you're done with that, you got to swing all the way back into the West Coast because you got 3 dates in Phoenix, in Vegas, and oh, by the way, that track that he just mentioned, Auto Club, in the LA area.
yeah, because I flew over it going into LAX last year, going on vacation. So I know.
Somebody got a map?
I got a better idea.
Somebody paying for the diesel fuel that all these haulers are going to have to use?
Woo! But I got a better idea. How about we put the Busch Clash back at Daytona?
I've got another option. We'll talk about that coming up as well after this break on CRN.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. 2 tires only and back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
I want to go one more note yet before we turn our attention to the next story. And as far as tracks that they could go to, he mentioned North Wilkesboro getting the All-Star race. I just came across the story this past week where the renovations to the track surface have finished at Rockingham Speedway.
Yep.
They just got it repaved.
Yep.
Rockingham,
Yep.
North Carolina.
Yep.
You know,
And guess what they're putting up too?
not that far away from Charlotte, North Carolina.
They're putting up lights there too.
Charlotte to Rockingham versus Charlotte to LA.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, but then you missed the awesome, cool LA scene.
Right. Whatever. As for another track that could be coming to NASCAR at some level, the plans for the historic Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway hit the predictable bump from the people who moved into a neighborhood featuring an active track that was already there long before you moved in. Have we said that before?
So let me prepare by just humming the tune to the old classic hip-hop song, Let Me Clear My Throat.
Sure. At a public hearing regarding the plans for the track's renovations by officials at Bristol Motor Speedway, about 24 people stood up and expressed their negativity at the ideas, most of them citing the sound concerns. But about the same number of people came out in favor of the proposal. One of them is a gentleman by the name of Norm Parton. He said, quote, "I know that this is a good thing for the city. I'm a taxpayer first, and if it wasn't good with taxpayers, I would be against it." He added that another reason he was in favor of this plan is that it will revitalize the historic facility and not cost him or his fellow taxpayers a dime.
All righty.
Not even a penny.
No. As opposed to the already approved plans by the city of Nashville to bill the taxpayers of the city and the state of Tennessee to build a dome stadium for the Tennessee Titans NFL football team, replacing a stadium that is not even 25 years old yet.
That there's really nothing wrong with. We was there, 2 years ago? Ish?
2020, I think. 2019?
2019.
2019.
Yeah, before,
so going on 3 years now.
before Chaos Town.
I'm going to quote someone here.
Please do.
Common sense is politically incorrect.
Where are you
Survey
coming
said? Yeah.
from? Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
This same nitwit, let's call him that, Jason Bergeron, and I'm going to call him out by name.
There you go.
Most of the short track scene riders, and I'll give you one in particular, Matt Weaver. He any shot that he gets when Jason Bergeron opens his mouth, Matt Weaver will unload on it. Because Bergeron is far from he's past the left field foul pole in touch with what's going on because he's politically motivated, wanting a vote. Lay that crap aside. Look at what's going to benefit your city and your area to make it bigger and better. I mean, for the love of humanity and mankind, and I can't remember the name of the stadium. Oh, I know what it is now. You put a 30,000 seat stadium,
Soccer stadium.
in the same area.
Dedicated, by the way, soccer stadium.
That when me and this guy drove down one of the streets to get to the backside of the fairgrounds when we were paged and called to duty for the Superstar Racing Experience last June, out of nowhere, which we gladly obliged. Hey, we'll go again.
Absolutely.
Drove down the fence, drove down the street to go around the backside of the speedway to get in. When there is a 30,000 seat stadium and the facility fence line, let me just back it up and say this. What would be the northwest gate of the stadium literally sits not even 100 feet off of houses' back porches? 100 feet.
Yep. And they're going to complain about the speedway.
Complain about the speedway that's been there long before the soccer stadium ever was even thought about.
Long before the house that they bought to
Was
move
even
into the
there.
neighborhood was built. Yeah.
There's a problem. He released his 10 problems with the Bristol Speedway lease and how to fix them. We're going to go to number 5, gentlemen.
Okay, let's do it.
The lease must include some limits around NASCAR Cup races. Okay,
What?
first off, Cup's not going there every year.
No, in fact, the plans aren't to put Cup there for quite some time, if ever.
Yeah, it would be every other year at best to start.
Yeah,
One time a year, not like you're running 30 weekends a year there.
true.
Okay, problem. The lease contains no absolute limits on the number of days and or curfews applicable to NASCAR Cup races, which Bristol owns Sound Study concedes there will be significantly louder than any existing race, even accounting for the sound walls.
Well, that's just because based upon the number of entries for the race.
How to fix it? Hold your breath on this one.
I can't wait.
Limit NASCAR Cup races to only be able to occur. Hey, John, listen to this one. Only be able to occur only on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The Fairground Speedway surrounding neighborhoods cannot accommodate NASCAR Cup level racing and its noise and traffic on Mondays through Thursdays. Further, there must be some reasonable curfews applicable to NASCAR Cup Series races and some limit on the total number of hours that NASCAR race activities can run on any given day. Hey, Jason, last I checked, when Cup Series cars hit a racetrack, they hit a racetrack no earlier than Friday.
And that's generally for practice.
Hang on, I have to go get some ibuprofen now.
If they practice on a Friday.
That's
And-
true.
And I'm going to repeat my quote. Common sense is politically incorrect.
When was the last time that NASCAR, on the Cup side, since that's the one that he's pulling out, when was the last time the Cup Series ran a scheduled race that wasn't a Friday, a Saturday, or a Sunday?
Last I checked, there hadn't been a Cup Series race on a Friday in my existence of life.
That's Friday.
Scheduled.
What about Monday through Thursday? Again, scheduled. When was the last time NASCAR ran a scheduled race Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday?
That would be in the COVID era of 2020, but you ran it with A, nobody in the stands, B,
Right.
and you ran them in areas that were in the middle of the country.
Right.
CC Darlington Raceway on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to CC Charlotte Motor Speedway on this one too.
Right. Okay. So let's go before that. When was the last time that NASCAR ran a scheduled race before COVID?
I would say in at least the 60s. Maybe early 70s. Maybe.
To borrow from the movie My Cousin Vinny, your case holds no water. Shut up.
I
By the way,
want to give you my favorite line on My Cousin Vinny.
oh, sure.
The defense rests.
Happy birthday out to NASCAR, by the way. They were officially born December the 14th, 1947 at the Streamline Hotel in Daytona Beach, Florida. It was the culmination of 4 days of meetings at the Ebony Bar at the top of the hotel where Big Bill France got named president. NASCAR officially formed when all was said and done. He was the one that brought in several people from different levels of racing around the country, most in and around the Southeast, because as France told the group of 35 that he gathered, he wanted to bring standards and consistency to the sport, noting that there were too many different sets of rules and regulations, and he also wanted a standard way of promoting the races because he found out that there were, let's just say, more than one unscrupulous promoter who would grab all of the entry fees, and then before the race was finished and he got to dole it all out, he up and disappeared, and the drivers got paid zilch. So we wanted to change all that. In the official/unofficial storytelling, one of the participants, Sam Packard, was actually asked why those meetings to do all this stuff took 4 days, to which he replied, they took place in a bar. Then he added, quote, you were dealing with Yankees and Southerners and bootleggers. Everyone went along pretty good with what needed to be done. We've been racing around the Carolinas and other places, and the promoters have been taking off with the money and leaving us stranded. But with this organization, the promoter had to put the money in escrow before we ever ran, so you were sure to get paid. It was Louis Red Vogt who came up with the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, or NASCAR, because NSCRA had already been taken. It was officially incorporated February 1948. February the 15th held their first official race, what we now call the Cup Series. The strictly stock series, Cup Series now, ran its first race in 1949. They did modifieds, which still run in 1948. And they did the Roadster, read convertibles division, in 1948. Turned out people weren't that excited about the convertibles running. It seems strange. You got actually a better look at the drivers with the convertible cars, but they just weren't that excited about it, fans. Huh, who knew?
Yeah. No telling.
Things you get to learn here on this show, right?
Uh-huh.
As we turn our attention to the Xfinity Series, a couple of pieces of news here. Xfinity starts with Alpha Prime Racing. They announced that they have signed Jeffrey Earnhardt. This guy just continues to get opportunities. And the thing about it is, he generally does a really nice job with the opportunities he's given. So that's why he still gets chances. This time he's going to drive the number 44 Camaro on a full-time basis for this coming year. It's fourth generation, obviously, of the Earnhardt family to race in NASCAR. He's run in the top 3 series, comes back to Chevrolet to race for President Tommy Joe Martins, and brings his longtime sponsor, Forever Lawn, along with him. I'm hoping, for Jeffrey's sake, this turns into longer than 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, this car and this team in general, last year they showed quite a few flashes.
They did. Now you get some consistency with one driver and a decent sponsor along with it. Maybe you got the chance to smooth things out and become consistent.
In a lot of ways, this team in particular is still young. They're still growing. I think in a good analogy way, the concrete on the foundation has fully cured. Let's word it that way.
Okay.
Their walls are up. And they're just sturdying the walls.
Okay.
If you ask me.
Got to put the roof on.
Roof's on.
Okay.
They're just sturdying the walls from the inside out.
All right.
I think this could be formidable.
Okay.
Not going to say somewhat or not going to say very. I'd say formidable.
Well, let's see what you think about this one then. AM Racing. They made a couple of moves this week. First of all, they brought in Brett Moffitt, the 2018 Camping World Truck Series champion. He's going to drive their number 25 next season.
Driver, yeah. Team, I don't know.
Okay. How about this? In addition to Brett Moffitt, they're switching from Chevrolet to Ford and announced that they have created a technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing for the number 25 now Mustang. Stewart-Haas Racing set to supply AM Racing with the race cars. Roush Yates Engines will be the engine provider. Stewart-Haas Racing will be the technical advisor throughout the 2023 season, all 33 races. Moffitt, who's now 30, claimed 2 top 5 and 23 top 10 results in 84 Xfinity Series so far in his career, including a 10th place finish last year when he was running in the 07 for SS Greenlight Racing. This will be Moffitt's first time competing in a Ford full-time in a season. We saw what SS Greenlight Racing could do with the 07 when Stewart-Haas Racing prepared it.
Fully.
When they did it.
Fully.
When they did it for Cole Custer, and they did it for Haley Deegan. We'll get back to her in a minute, too.
Chase Briscoe, too.
And Chase Briscoe. That car performed very, very well. When it was just SS Greenlight Racing and it was driver Joe Graff in a non-SHR prepared car, we really didn't talk about it.
No.
But we talked about a win, top 10s, top 15s under Custer, Briscoe, and Deegan.
Mm-hmm.
Now they get an SHR prepared car with a driver who has a winning heritage and a title winning heritage, granted in the Truck Series, not Xfinity. You tell me.
Well, one, considering that Stewart-Haas is the only Ford factory team. Let's call it that. In
Yeah.
Xfinity, the technical alliance, that's kind of a given. If you want to go forward, yeah, you align up with Stuart Haas. So that increases Ford's car count by 2 this year.
There you go.
Custer coming back, Moffitt getting in. Time will tell.
There we go. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the Craftsman Truck Series. Got some ARCA news, SRX news as well. Stick around.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, running towards checkered flag on this edition of Championship Racing Network, and we're talking about the Craftsman. Yeah, I'm going to start pretty much calling them the Craftsman Truck Series now. ThorSport Racing, 2 big moves on Thursday. First announced they were leaving Toyota and moving back to Ford. Okay. We'll get into that history in a second. And then they added themselves a new driver. They picked up Haley Deegan, 21-year-old California native who's a Ford development driver. She joined that program back in 2020 and has since picked up 2 straight Truck Series Most Popular Driver awards. She hasn't claimed to win yet. She joins, though, a successful organization featuring the returning 3-time truck champion Matt Crafton, 2021 title winner Ben Rhodes, and a kid who is finally getting a pretty decent shot, Ty Majeski. She'll take over the truck that Christian Eckes drove last year. Remember Eckes, we talked about him last week, moving over to the McAnally-Hilgeman racing team. She's going to drive the number 13 with continued sponsorship from her longtime sponsor, Monster Energy. Now she gets Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes, Ty Majeski, and ThorSport Racing. What does this do for young Haley Deegan?
She'll improve. question is, don't know how much. But she will improve because she's got that veteran presence to lean on. Because, and essentially, in a way, she was pulling the weight at DGR from a veteran standpoint.
And I got to say this. She was very rough around the edges her rookie year. She smoothed it out a lot this past year.
And they're making a crew chief swap, too. I seen, too. She's getting Ben Rhodes' crew chief from last year.
Not a bad move.
Not at all.
This also marks a return to Ford, as we noted just a moment ago. The organization began in 2004. They were running Chevrolets. They ran Silverado trucks through 2011, then moved to Toyota. In 2018, they moved from Toyota to Ford. Then they went back to Toyota in 2021 and for last year as well. But now we're back to Ford for 2023.
Let's spin the roulette wheel, manufacturer roulette wheel in Sandusky, Ohio. Hey, where's it going to land? We're going back to Ford.
Yep.
They'll spin it in 2 more years.
Probably so, right about the time Haley Deegan moves on in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
We don't generally talk a whole lot about the ARCA Menards racing series, but we're going to right now because NASCAR is their parent company, and they and Fox Sports have come to terms on a deal that's going to put the ARCA Menards series races live on either Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports 2 all year long. That number is up from 11 races last year and from the dozen races that they carried in 2019 through 2021. This deal extends the deal that ARCA and Fox Sports have had since 1997, but now makes their deal exclusive. Over the past few years, they have been splitting their time with the aforementioned MAV TV. Your breakdown is this. 14 of the races will be on Fox Sports 1. The remainder will appear on Fox Sports 2. Of the first 5 races in 2023, 4 of them are on Fox Sports 1. That includes the season opener at Daytona and their stop at Talladega on April the 22nd. Thing is there's kind of a quirk in the scheduling where the last 2 races of the season, Salem and Toledo, you know, the title clinching races, Salem and Toledo, they're not going to be on Fox Sports 1. They're going to be on Fox Sports 2. But there's a reason. Those 2 races are slated to run on Saturdays, September the 30th and October the 7th. Fox Sports 1 will be taken up with college football. And let's face it, we know where the ratings and we know where the money comes in when it comes to sports broadcasting. It's the NFL, then it's college, and then everything else.
They've got the broadcast schedule released. If you want us to hear that real quick,
I think we got it. Check your listings.
The only FS2 races there are Phoenix, Elko, Minnesota, Iowa, DuQuoin, Illinois, Salem, and Toledo.
Yeah. So most of them will be on Fox Sports 1.
Yep.
We also mentioned the Superstar Racing Experience SRX series in a move that may or may not signal a renewed interest in bringing more motorsports to the network. ESPN has signed a multi-year deal with the Ray Evernham, Tony Stewart-founded SRX series. In this deal, the series no longer will race on Saturday nights, as they did in their deal with CBS. They're going to move to Thursday evenings and bring back the classic ESPN Thursday Night Thunder name. The original Thursday Night Thunder showcased local racing all across the nation back in the 1980s, which led Tony Stewart to say, quote, Thursday Night Thunder is where guys like me, who were just starting our careers in USAC, got the chance to make our name for ourselves because of its presence on ESPN. It's great to see Thursday Night Thunder return, but also be a part of it all over again with SRX. And for those who really don't know, it's now going into its 3rd year. It is an attempt, and successful, I might add, in my mind. I won't speak for Matt or John.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
It's an attempt in short track form to bring back the old International Race of Champions, or IROC series. Brings together drivers from NASCAR, Indycar, and other series to take each other on in a 6-race series, all of them on short tracks with at least 2 dirt tracks included in that slate. Tony Stewart won the first series title. Marco Andretti is now the defending title winner. SRX CEO Don Hawk said, quote, when we had the opportunity to pitch the concept of Thursday Night Thunder to ESPN, it was my firm belief this would be another disruptive and monumental moment in SRX and racing history, reuniting race fans with ESPN on short tracks and superstar drivers all across the country for years to come. Now, I mentioned, could this signal a renewed interest in more forms of motorsport to ESPN/ABC? Remember, we're about to come to the end of the current agreements that NASCAR has with Fox and NBC. Ends after the 2024 season. How many times have we heard the possibility that ABC, ESPN might get into the bidding on that?
Several.
Could this be a harbinger of things to come? Time will tell.
Display the bat signal, Robin.
So is this a good thing in your mind?
Oh, good Lord, yes.
I have zero problem.
Lord have mercy, yes.
Yeah, I have zero problem with this. I think it's great. The one kind of negative about it is the fact that it goes away from a broadcast network, but ESPN has a really good reach. We know that.
Huge.
And the fact that it goes away from Saturday nights to Thursday nights, a school night. But based upon how SRX runs, 7 to 9 p.m., I don't really see that as being a problem. You're not staying up terribly late to watch these races.
And the time of the year they're running it.
School's out.
Yeah, school's out.
Matter of fact,
so
their racing schedule for 2023, they're still being a little bit coy about it. They got a big sense of humor. The day after the ESPN announcement, the series official's Twitter account said this, quote, "Some of y'all wanted a schedule hint for 2023, and admin just gave you a huge one." Then they added a picture that showed a corner of the map of the United States of America, adding the line, quote, "I'm happy to announce that we will be racing in the United States." Okay. We do know this. We don't know when it will happen. Unlike the first two seasons, which generally ran from June into July, the new slate for the ESPN first year of coverage starts July 13th, runs through August the 17th. That we know. We still don't know what the tracks are going to be yet.
With it being Thursday Night Thunder, I can all but guarantee what one of them will be.
Huh.
IRP.
Could be.
There was another note I seen too.
Yeah.
That I think it was released through Don Hawk's actual Twitter feed. There were 41 tracks that reached out to SRX about hosting a race.
It's going to be fun.
And if I read in between the lines correctly from someone that's very, very, very in tune with a track around here, pretty sure one of them was from this very local area.
Wouldn't it be nice to have them in our own little backyard?
Ooh, buddy.
Let's go to straight line racing, shall we?
Yes. Quick run to the NHRA here with a couple of notes. We talked about it last week. They expanded out to 8 cars in Pro Stock car. Elite Motorsports not hurting too bad, but it's always good to have more sponsors, or in this case, keep them longer term. Elite Motorsports and longtime partner Jegs renewing their deal, going to remain on the Camaro, piloted by Troy Coughlin Jr. Now, you'd think this was a no-brainer because the Coughlin family owns the company. Well, at one time that was true. Not anymore. They actually sold the company recently to Greenbrier, which, to their credit, recognized the value of keeping the sponsorship, so they're keeping it. Kalitta Motorsports got into the holiday spirit. They have donated 750,000 meals to Feeding America in their Drive for a Purpose challenge. The team's generous donation put Feeding America over their goal of 500,000 meals. Congratulations. The number was based upon Kalitta Motorsports' 3 drivers, Doug Kalitta, Sean Langdon, and J.R. Todd, garnering quicker reaction times in 4 of the 6 Chase for Championship events: Charlotte, St. Louis, Dallas, and Las Vegas. For each time their driver had the faster reaction time in their matchup, the team was set to donate the equivalent of 2,000 meals to Feeding America, with one of their major sponsors, DHL, matching that figure. And for the last race in Las Vegas, both Kalitta and DHL upped that, doubled it to 4,000 meals. So 8,000 total. Fans were able to jump in on it as well via a QR code that wrote on each of the entries of the drivers. A check was presented by Langdon, Todd, and 2 other members of the Kalitta Motorsports organization on December the 6th. They said it was enough for 750,000 meals. Perfect way to wrap up the season and usher in the holidays. Congratulations to Kalitta Motorsports. Fantastic job. That's what the racing community does.
Bingo.
So well. All right, I did not include this in the rundown because specifically I wanted to see how good, and John can be in on this as well, might be when it comes to guessing things. Lionel Racing, the official NASCAR diecast providers.
That's right. It's time for them to release that this year.
Yep, the official top 10 list has come out. In at number 10, Austin Cindric's Daytona 500 win.
I could see that.
In at number 9, Chase Elliott's Napa Dover win.
Could see that.
Number 8, Chase Elliott's Napa Nashville win.
Shocker. 2 or 3.
Number 7, Chase Elliott 2022 Hooters paint scheme. Number 6, Kyle Larson 2022 HendrickCars.com paint scheme. Here's one that I found interesting, but I give credit because this is something that has been finally going on for a while. We're filling in gaps. Number 5, John. Richard Petty, 1984 STP Pontiac Grand Prix 200th win car.
They did re-release that this year. I could see that.
Came in at number 5. Beaten out by, in at number 4, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Sundrop late model.
No surprise.
In at number 3, Chase Elliott 2022 Napa paint scheme. I'm sorry, that's number 3. Here's number 2. Kurt Busch, Jordan Brand Kansas win.
I believe that. It was a limited release car on a one-time scheme.
Yep. And turns out to be the last win of Kurt Busch.
Because the final win of Kurt Busch, and then there were some hurdles that I remember had to be jumped because of the Jordan branding on the car.
Yeah. Care to guess what number 1 is? Either one of you?
I have my guess, John. Fire away.
I actually have no clue, but I'm going to say it's a Chase Elliott car.
You'd be incorrect. Matt.
If I had to say, it would be down to one of these two.
Maybe I'll guess it from his two.
Chase Elliott's Talladega win car,
We already know that one's not it.
or the Ross Chastain riding the wall diecast from Martinsville.
That actually,
And if I
Sounds
had to
good.
guess, probably going to be Chastain's car.
Number 1 seller, Ross Chastain, Hale Mellon Martinsville win. I love how the fact that they've nicknamed it. Also, we noted over the last few years now that the NHRA's Constant Aviation Factory Stock Showdown is run by using cars you could conceivably, assuming you have the money, buy for yourself from your Chevy, Dodge, or Ford dealer. What kind of money are we talking about? Well, I don't know the Ford or the Dodge numbers, but I am on a list of Chevrolet, and Chevrolet sent me an email, said that they're now accepting applications to be approved to purchase the potential entry into the division for the 2023 Copo Camaro. Comes in 3 engine choices, 2 of which can actually be run in NHRA competition, 1 that cannot. Reminder, these cars are purpose-built for racing, cannot be registered in any of the 50 states. And should you be one of the lucky ones approved, a $15,000 deposit is required to secure the car that has no title and no official vehicle identification number. But you do get an official bill of sale from Chevrolet. There are 4 base colors available in the NHRA approved engine choices: black, summit white, satin steel gray, metallic, and red hot. There's a 5th color available only with the non-NHRA engine package. It's a vivid orange metallic, and I'm here to tell you, wear sunglasses. The engine choices approved by the NHRA: 350 cubic inch with supercharger, it's rated at 600 horsepower, and the naturally aspirated 427 cubic inch are rated at 470 horsepower. The 3rd engine, the non-NHRA approved engine, 632 cubic inch monster motor,
Hey!
and about that many dollars.
and it does not include the horsepower rating.
632 cubic inches? Mm-hmm. You are
Naturally aspirated. By the way.
pushing. You're pushing minimum 900.
I can believe that. All right. The cheapest of the 3 is the 427 naturally aspirated cubic inch package. Care to take a guess at the base price?
427.
I'm sorry, base
aspirated.
price is the only price because there are no options on this car.
Base price. That's for the
427. This is the base of the 3 and the lowest price of the 3.
That's the Ford
No,
Chevrolet.
this is Chevrolet 427 package.
I'm going to say 175K, my final answer.
We'll say 190.
To play prices right, both of you are well over.
Wow.
You mean I could actually afford this thing? Woohoo.
$1, Bob.
Yeah. You win. No. It is the cheapest. $126,420.
Wow. That's incredibly cheap.
Second one up, the 632 engine package. Yes, it is more expensive. How much?
I will say
That was the 175K.
165.
You're both still over.
Wow.
135.9.
Inflation hasn't hit these cars yet.
Well,
So-
they did over last year because the highest amount that they charged for the 2022 one, because I got that email as well, was just under 115,000. So this is a marked increase in the price.
So for 200 more cubic inches on the engine is only 10,000 more?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then if you want the 350 supercharged engine, this is the most expensive one. Keep in mind where we are and where we have been when you make your guess.
I'm going to stick with my original answer at 175.
Say 150.
You're both still over. 141, 225.
Wow.
But the thing about it is,
Interesting.
here's the thing. If you're buying these cars, you don't get loans. You got to put a $15,000 deposit on it if and when they approve your application. And then when they deliver the car, you got to pay it all off in one fell swoop.
I think we'll go buy one tomorrow.
Well.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Good luck with
It's
that,
pocket
indeed.
change.
Indeed.
I did. I saw some of the pictures of the release of the top 10 for the Lionel top 10 in the diecast.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, man, I miss those mid-'80s G cars. That Pontiac Grand Prix looked good, man. It did. It looked good.
It does.
I don't collect Richard Petty cars as a general rule, though.
If it's not DW and Tony Stewart, don't talk to him.
I have, what is it? One, is it two? I know of one car that I have, and it is a literal diecast collectible, that is not either Darrell Waltrip or Tony Stewart or affiliated. I say affiliated because there are a couple of paint schemes that Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart ran connected at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Coca-Cola being one of them.
Yeah. Jurassic Park was one as well. And remember the movie Small Soldiers? Got those cars too. But it's a Davey Allison car, and it was given to me. I didn't buy it. But that's the only one that I can think of right offhand. Otherwise, all the other cars in my collection, and one of these days, I'll have to show the collection, I guess.
I did research on it, the most valuable diecast I have, and John Myers was about to fall over backwards out of a chair.
Okay.
The Danica Patrick Final Ride car.
Oh, wow. Who would have known that was the most? All right, then.
7 premium motorsports car, too, at that.
All right. We plan on being here next week.
Yep.
And the week after. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Hey, racing goes year-round. Now, if Christmas Day and New Year's Day had been like they were last year on the day that we're supposed to air, no, we wouldn't have been here. But we plan on being here next week and the week after. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did. We had a good time. We'll talk about it all again this coming weekend. Y'all enjoy the week. Be careful. Be safe out there, especially if you're traveling. Got to be a lot of people out on the roadways trying to get to Grandma's house over the hills and far away. Be careful. We'll talk to you next week right here on the Championship Racing Network.
See ya.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.